Hello. What's up, man?
What's going on?
What is going on?
Oh,
Back from vacation, getting settled in. Another episode to record. Rock and rolling.
yeah, did you have a good time? Feeling
I
all
had a
relaxed?
no. I came back to 2,000 emails, and that's not fun.
Good, man. Get to
Uh,
work.
yeah, which is a great lead in here to so today we're going to talk about this is a based on or building on an article that Caroline Wong posted on the site on so her post was on like the intersection of tarot cards and spirituality and mindfulness and such and cybersecurity, which sounds like an unlikely combination. And so what we wanted to do for this chat was explore mindfulness and self-care and such in the context of cybersecurity, because there's a lot of things that we can control and there's a lot of things we can't
Such an
control.
important
Like
topic.
the email we're going to get.
Yeah,
So yeah, and I know you're a meditator. I'm
dude.
a journaler, so we should have a good conversation today.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, so softball here. So how do you differentiate? Like all the things are happening, all around you. How do you differentiate between the things you can control and the things you can't control in this world of cybersecurity? Because it always feels like we can have control over things.
Yeah, that like immediately makes me think of so just like we give advice, right? We help try and help the folks that are doing doing the business of the business um the best way we can, but at some point we have to be okay with they're going to take our advice. They're sometimes they use it, sometimes they don't, sometimes it's a mixed bag, and I think we have to be okay with the idea that we gave our best advice, right? We did the best job we could, and get on board, right? Because whether they our our advice was implemented 100% or 50% or not at all, I mean, that doesn't absolve us from doing the things, right? Securing all the stuff, making sure things keep running. And in the event, the a data breach happens, you got to put on a hard hat and get to work.
Yeah, I think there's this saying that I've heard a lot of people reference. I don't exactly know where it originated, but it's that the enemy gets a vote too, and I
That's a
feel
good
like
one.
that's a, I mean, I feel like it's a pretty appropriate term in our field, but it's not just the enemy in terms of the hacker, the criminal group, the nation state, whoever that is. It's the rest of the business, the IT team, it's the product team who may decide to like build a new feature or like clean up the tech debt. It's all of that stuff, and that can be hard or frustrating to deal with at times. And I love that you called out. Like just sometimes you just gotta like accept it and just keep on going, because you're not gonna necessarily change somebody's mind or like the effort. It's like, what hill do you want to die on?
Yeah, you got to be
You
part of the
can't die on.
team, right? And so
Yeah,
that's
totally.
that's all about.
Yeah,
That's what it's all about.
part of the team. I like that. Well, so when things start to get frustrating, and things oftentimes do get frustrating in our field, especially let's say you've made all these amazing recommendations, nobody wants to listen to them, everyone's just being frustrating from your from your point of view. So like what are some practical things that you can do to kind of center yourself, put things in their appropriate perspective, because I think there's a lot of fluff out there on the internet about this kind of topic around prioritizing, and it's like your kids scream at you and it's like, okay, take a pause before you respond. You got stuff like biblical stuff, like be slow to speak, and be slow to anger, love is patient, all that, all that kind of stuff. And there's all of this. A lot of it ends up boiling down to patience, but like in reality, like how do you go about kind of navigating that frustrating set of circumstances, because that to me, especially when things start to hit the fan, all the theory and all of that is great. And it kind of stays in that theory bucket, and you kind of you revert to sometimes what feels most natural, or just like, quick instinct, and that sometimes is not the most productive response to such a circumstance.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So like I think so you definitely have to keep your wits about you, right? You definitely have to stay kind of centered. But I think, keeping the perspective of why we're here, like what are we doing, right? Like what's the goal? And so typically, and I'll quote you, the ultimate goal is not security,
I'm honored.
right? It's just not. And so for and I think we always need to keep that idea in the forefront. The goal is not security, right? The goal is making the widgets. And so I think, having that as kind of like your North Star, your guiding principle, I think brings in allows you to to escape of some of the old thinking, right? The old way of, well, so like where we almost had to be, the crotchety old man. You got to secure all. What do you mean? You're gonna, get off my lawn, right? Because it's just not, it was less acceptable, or I say more acceptable back then, but still not a good way to operate. And now that hopefully we're working to move past that, that should drive everything.
Yeah, I think the Gran Torino imagery is quite apropos here. I mean, so um, something that I heard this tip in a training a while back, and I referenced it in some article that I did on the site. I honestly can't remember which one, but it was, and this is more appropriate for like meetings and stuff. But and it's sort of like a mental structure, if you will. But like, everyone speaks once before anyone speaks twice, and or everyone speaks once before anyone speaks twice, and I I definitely don't always get that right, or do that well. But as far as like a practical thing that you can do, so you're not just like jumping in and like jumping all over somebody, and when they have an opinion, or that it's just like you just downright outright do not agree with, or say something toxic, or provocative, or what have you. Just like kind of let the room settle, listen more than you talk. That's typically a useful thing to do. It gives you more information, to kind of operate and feel out the room. And I tend to do this more in my personal life than I do in my professional life, and I should probably seek to kind of balance these things out more. But I tend to, like, when things get heated and such, I do a lot of my like processing of sorts of my thoughts, and potentially like responses to people in writing. I find it much easier to like structure my thoughts than, um, something gets said or something happens, and I react really quickly, and sometimes harshly, or abrasively, and whatnot. And that's usually, again, not very productive. Acting like the crotchety old security professional, and if I took the time to pause and communicate in a structured way, like I do when I write, I think I would be much more effective in my back and forths. And like, sometimes I do well at that. Sometimes I definitely lose my temper, and things, inevitably when that happens, it all just kind of goes downhill from there.
Yeah.
And that's not good.
Yeah. And I think too, like, you really have to make an effort to understand where folks are coming from, right? Because if someone else is feeling like that, passion or upset, or what however that may manifest itself. um trying to get like a level deeper there and understand why they're feeling this way. um gives you like an avenue for communication, right? It gives your brain something to think about, to try and make that connection, to try and
Work through
foster
it.
the
Yeah.
conversation, right? Like, and further the conversation, make things, um you know make your point without being overbearing.
Yeah. I started reading this book. I think it came out a while ago, but it's called The Body Keeps the Score. And it's more centered around like how your body, like the physiological responses to trauma and other like, big staggering emotional events in life kind of manifest themselves. And one of the things that I found really interesting is the author is like referencing these studies that they were part of at Harvard, these like neuroscience studies at Harvard, and it's all these like exposure to trauma, like recall events, and then they would do MRIs to see what part of the brain kind of lights up and all that kind of thing. And something that I found interesting, like the whole amygdala firing, amygdala flooding, that I feel like is a fairly well established thing, even among like that's more common knowledge. Something else that I was unaware of is like there's other centers of the brain that are responsible for just like having like logical thought or like deeper processing, and like some of these things either like turn all the way on or turn all the way off, and like some people will just like shut down, some people get really edgy and agitated, and I feel like what we're talking about is not trauma, it's not these big extreme circumstances, but I have to imagine that there's still an overlay, like that our bodies and our brains would be responding in such a way when stress is heightened, especially data breach or
Yep.
loss of a customer, things like that. There's going to be a similar response, even if it's not as extreme.
Yeah. So it's funny because we used to teach that when I was a police academy instructor, as a part of driver training, right? So
Hmm.
you flick the lights on, you turn the siren on, and you don't even have to be in a car, right? And you measure your pulse, start to sweat, like,
Yeah,
just from the sounds and the sights, without
yeah, yeah.
actually doing anything. So yeah, like it and I think, while that it's not like you said, it's not like an incident or an instant,
Yeah.
like that. uh it can be, right? It can be so in the middle of a conversation where you're digging in to causes of data breaches and things like that. you know one
Stressful
fact
employee.
comes out, and it very well could be, the lights and sirens go on.
Right. Yeah. Just heightened stress,
Yeah.
just like right in your face.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, so we're coming up on time. Um, let's aim for like one practical tip. So like, one thing that people can do this week, this month to try to get a handle on being more mindful in their role as a cybersecurity professional.
One tip. I mean, I wow. So now I'd like four just popped into my head, and so now I got I got to edit myself on the fly.
You can go two if you want.
Well, so because I love, you know everybody speaks once before anybody speaks twice. I really, leaders eat last, like that kind of thing. Like I love that, right? And it really, it's difficult to be silent when, especially if you're talking and, in a meeting with a group of folks. But I think, for me, like, if you could wait and give folks a chance to 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 think and to absorb and to say what's on their mind, without clouding it with, the the CISO's words. I think that's, that, to me, it's work, right? Like, it's hard to just sit there silent. So yeah, I think, if you could get through 20% of a meeting without, with just saying hi, I think that's a great start, right? That's success.
Yeah, and I think it depends on the kind of meeting, because sometimes you're just, people will
Yeah.
be talking at you, and you can be totally tuned out there, and that's not actually probably a great thing either. So yeah, I feel like there's a time and a place for those things, but I love that. The thing that I got this tip recently, and I've been trying to implement it more often in my own situation, or my own kind of life dynamics, personal, professional, etc. And that is, like, when something crazy happens, like something stressful, you're going to react how you're going to react. Like, you're going to try to do your best. Sometimes you're not always going to do your best or do respond how you wanted. But, like, take some time after the fact to do like a little mini retrospective with yourself, and just like write down the lead up, what happened from your perspective, why you think it went that way, and what you think you could do better. Just like 5 minutes max, and just write down something about what happened, to try to get yourself into the habit of, like, reflecting back. So your last, like, impressionable memory of the thing is not how you reacted badly, but like what you're going to do to improve, sort of tying it back to like the Carol Dweck growth mindset kind of line of thinking. And I found that to be helpful for myself. Like, if I have a slip up and I respond harshly to my kids, or to an employee, or to a colleague, or what, talk back to the boss, which is a seems like a common thing for me. And it's just like doing that little state of reflection has helped me try to, like, get a little bit more centered and not so just off the cuff with my words and my actions. So
Yeah. Prepare for the next time, right? Do it a little bit better next time. I like it.
absolutely. Yeah. So with that, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Soft Side of Cyber podcast. If you're liking these shows, make sure you subscribe, leave a comment. That kind of stuff helps other people find the show. Thank you so much for listening. Tune in next time. And I think we're going to be talking about DEI in our next show, depending on when we release. So thank you so much, everyone, and have an awesome, awesome day.
See ya.